Hi everybody, Scott McGinnis again here for Armsportvideos. We're still at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Fitness Expo in Columbus, Ohio. With me right now is my guest from Utah, world champion, national champion, Bob Brown from Salt Lake City, Utah. Is that where you're from, Bob?
A little town called Riverton, which is outside Salt Lake, but
Okay.
all in the Salt Lake Valley.
Okay, thanks for stopping by. Why don't you talk to Bob? A couple times we've tried to get together and do this, but now we finally are here, so thanks.
We're here.
That's
All
right. It's
At
good.
the Arnold Classic.
I know, great tournament, eh?
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Let's just start off with, okay, John Brzenk got third.
Yeah, do you need to say anything else?
That's all we got to talk about. We're done.
Yeah, exactly. So give me a little bit of history of your background. What got you interested in arm wrestling?
What got me? Well, like everyone else, I was one of those kids I never lost when I was a kid. I was driving by a bowling alley and, well, I used to go to this one tournament every year. It didn't cost anything to enter. You won these little trophies and I won it every year. It wasn't a real tournament. Then I was driving by a bowling alley and saw a sign. Went in there and I knew this was different. There were entry fees. People had to weigh in. It was different. I entered a novice class and I got second. And that's the only novice class I've ever entered.
Okay.
And then I found out about the nationals 3 months ahead of time. So I started training like a madman, or what I thought was training. Went down to that and went 2 and out. I was like, holy crap. And but then interestingly enough, whether it was a good or a bad thing, hindsight, right after that tournament, I went over to the practice table and I was pulling with a guy and he just killed me. And he said, use back pressure. I said, well, what's that? He says, pull back. And long story short, I ended up beating him about the 3rd time. And at that moment I said, man, there's a lot of technique to this. So in my early years, I focused way more on technique than I ever did on strength.
Okay.
And I always used to think that might have been a mistake. I'm glad I focused on technique, but I wish I'd have spent some more time on strength.
Oh, just getting stronger yourself.
Just getting stronger. Watch out, Luke. Don't come in front of the camera now. Yeah. So that, that's kind of what got me started, and then I only entered, open tournaments back then in the late 80s. I started to win all the state tournaments, and in New Jersey, you travel an 8-hour radius and you're in like 20 different states.
Okay.
So there's a tournament every weekend.
Yeah. So if if a puller wants to pull, there's no worries.
No worries. I mean, I pulled every weekend probably that first year. I probably pulled 50 tournaments.
Wow, really?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, it was stupid, but I didn't know any better. No one knew better back then, Yeah,
well, the wear and tear and the toll it takes on your arm and everything, yeah.
So, but that's how I got started. And then, I ended up having the best day of my life and the worst day of my life probably. Back in 1992, I believe, I was at a tournament in Indiana where I thought it was time for me to maybe step out there and prove myself. And Chad Silvers was coming to that tournament, and at that point, he was the world champ in the 54s.
Okay.
He'd already won a few world titles, so I figured it'd come down to me and him. So I get out there, Chad Silvers is there, Wayne Burns is there, Frank Wilkowski's there, Ed Fitzgerald is there. There was 7 guys in my class that were either a current national or world champ.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God. Well, I beat Chad Silvers, I beat Frank Wilkowski. I'm in the finals against Wayne Burns thinking, I'm gonna win this match. And I took his hand and I'm holding him. And at that point in my life, once I took a guy's hand, I had never lost a match.
Okay.
Once I got his hand.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, this is it. He came up and pressed down with a dead wrist, and my elbow, it sounded like a gunshot going off. And that's the first time I tore my collateral ligament in my elbow.
Oh.
And I've torn it, a dozen times since then, which is, why, my arm doesn't go straight either.
Okay.
And every time it cracks, it keeps getting shorter and shorter, and, that's the mobility of my arm. It only comes in this close to my body, and that's how straight it goes. So you know, I know what a lot of these guys are dealing with.
So, and that's in reference to all the talk about George Zakowicz, who they say can't straighten his arm.
Right.
So this is not unnatural for an arm wrestler. That's okay, Coach.
That's okay.
She's way better looking than we are, so
that's fine.
that's good. So that's in reference to, yeah, everybody's saying about George Zakowicz
Right.
can't straighten his arm.
Right.
You can't straighten your arm.
Right. Yeah, I walked right up to George and I said, all right, George, let's just dispel the rumors right now. Straighten your arm out for me. And he couldn't. And I said, how many times have you torn your collateral ligament? He says, I forgot. He's torn it so many times. I said, I know exactly. We both put our arms up against the wall to see whose went straighter.
Yeah.
Mine went a little bit straighter, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot straighter, you know.
And she's back.
She keeps walking back.
I know, but she's good looking, so it's okay,
hey, darling,
I guess.
you need to smile when you're in front of the camera.
I don't think she's listening to you.
That's okay.
It's okay, yeah. So.
It's okay. Sweetheart, can you smile when you go in front of the camera? Just smile. All right.
Yeah, only on.
Lost focus.
Yeah, exactly. Where were we?
In focus. I lost focus.
That's right. Okay, so tell me about the leg.
Well, 3.5 years ago, motorcycle accident. Me and John Brzenk were on our Harleys, headed up to Bongard's house just to hang out. We're in a canyon, and a woman did a U-turn right in front of me, right into my leg. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. I was in the hospital for a month. When I woke up, my leg was gone. They were gonna try and, they wanted to save the leg, but I guess through the process of surgeries, they couldn't save it. I've got a prosthetic leg now. This is my third one. My first one fit real good. My second one didn't fit so good. I couldn't really exercise. I put on a lot of weight. My leg's feeling good. I've lost about 12, 14 pounds.
Okay.
And I still want to lose weight, just not even for arm wrestling, just for life. I don't like being...
So how heavy are you right now?
I weigh 182.
Okay, yeah, because that's up. I ran into you last year somewhere, and I thought, Bob, you're looking way too thin.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's 182 without my leg on. So my leg, if I had my leg, I'd weigh 14 pounds more.
Okay.
So when I weigh 182, if you add 14, I really got the body of a 196-pound man.
Okay, I understand, yeah.
So, you know, so in reality, for me to get back down to what used to be like 176, which is where I like to be,
yeah,
I really got to weigh like 162.
Okay.
You know, you got to factor in the whole leg.
You have to factor in the leg. And so what exactly is the rule for that? So you weigh in with your leg?
The only tournaments you have to weigh in with your leg on is the WAF Worlds and any qualifier for the World. So our USAF Nationals, I'd have to weigh in with my leg on.
Okay.
So there you have it. And then at the Worlds, you have to weigh in with your leg on.
You have to weigh with your leg on, okay.
My leg on, yes.
So at least smile when you're in front of it. That's okay.
There's a lot of beautiful women going in front of the camera.
That's right.
We're okay with that.
We don't, if it's big old ugly men, we don't want to see them, but I guess, folks, you have to be here to see how many beautiful women are around.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now we're surrounded, and it's almost like heaven.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, most of the people that know you and that, so aside from arm wrestling, Bob Brown, this is my impression, Bob Brown is a stickler for the rules and clarity.
Clarity.
Clarity, is that the right word?
Clarity is the right word.
Okay, number one, let's start with number one. Yeah. What does Bob Brown want with the rules?
I want the rules to be so well defined that you could take 10 referees, they could all read the same set of rules and actually all interpret them the same way. Because that's a problem. A thread just started on the Northeast board a little bit ago about intentional foul. And it was interesting. I just copied and pasted the rule from the WAF into the message board.
Yep.
I was like, I don't like the way it's written, but here's the rule. I copied and pasted it. Some people got on there and said, well, that's a silly way to write the rule because, you know, this, if they do this, it's an intentional slip. If they do that, it's an intentional slip. And I said, you're proving my point. you read the rules and interpreted it one way. This is how the WAF interprets it. And I mean, you've got even referees at the WAF World Championships, I'm sorry to say it, don't even know their own rules.
Right.
You know, there was a classic in Manchester, and I feel terrible for Ron Klemba, because Ron Klemba kind of got screwed. They called Ron Klemba for a his shoulder below the table, and it was he called it as a second foul, loss. And I said, there is no rule, shoulder below the table. He said it's a dangerous position. I said, well, then you have to tell you in the rules, you have to warn them and give them the ability to get out of it. And so,
just like what's called break arm.
Break arm position. Exactly.
The referee tells you, look at your hand, look at your hand, or straighten up.
They give you a chance.
Yeah.
So we won the protest. Ron went again. Ron goes shoulder below the table. Now realize Ron's in the winning position. He's that far from pinning the guy.
Yeah.
So he's down like this. They said, dangerous position. Ron comes back up, says, I'm fine. Ron goes back down. They said, foul, because you went back into the dangerous position as far as that ref's perception, interpretation.
Okay.
And he lost the match. Leonard Harkless himself, sorry Leonard, told me dangerous position is a judgment call by the refs. I took him at his word for it. The next day, there was another problem, and they asked me to come up to go through the rules, and I said, here's where the rule is. It was a girl with long fingernails.
Okay.
And I said, here's where it talks about the rule. Do what you want with it. On that same page, there was the dangerous position rule. So I read it. And it actually defines in the rules what a dangerous position is. So it's not up to interpretation. The ref can't just arbitrarily say, this is a dangerous position. You can't, because it's defined in the rules. Down. It is written down. Okay. Ron Klemba was not in either of those positions. Ron Klemba should not have been called for that. It should have been protested again. It's my own fault. That's why I always now, before I go to every tournament, I reread the rules.
Okay.
All of them again, because they're just poorly written. They need to be much more clear.
Okay, so that being said, so that's on the WAF level. How can you explain to me, in Canada, for example,
okay,
we follow one set of rules.
Right.
Well, do referees interpret things differently? Of course they do.
Yeah.
We're all human,
right,
since things are not written down perfectly.
Right.
Now, in the U.S., you guys don't have one set of rules.
No.
You've got, at least Denise and Leonard and the USAA has their set of rules. The AAA has their set of rules.
Yep.
I go to the Northeast, they have their set of rules. So, is there going to be a day when everybody gets together and we have a universal set of rules? I don't care whose rules it is. If it's the WAF's rules, everyone's going to follow them. Whatever.
Right. The short answer to that is no.
Okay.
We're never going to get there because we don't have the real organization in our sport as well. The WAF should be the head of the world. And this is all amateur level I'm referring to.
Yes.
This is WAF runs the world. They have their rules. Every country under them should just basically copy and paste their rules. And in the USA, a bunch of proud Americans, and we want to do everything our way, myself included, okay, think that we should be different and we run different sets of rules. Until they all get under the umbrella of the USAF and all run the same rules, you're never going to have that unity. And quite frankly, in the US, I don't ever see that happening.
That's not going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen. Just the rules are just, I remember, I went to Brazil Worlds in like 1994. I was in Brazil. They handed out everybody the rules. And I read the rules. There were 12 rules. They were each one line long. Slip in the losing position is a loss. It didn't tell you what a losing position was. It just said slip in the losing position was a loss.
So, but if I'm in the winning position, and you slip out, but I cause a slip out, you lose. I let go.
According to that rule back then.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I don't got to worry about being Bob Brown. I got to worry about getting to the winning side of the table and let go. You're finished.
Back in '94. That's exactly right.
Thanks for coming out,
See,
folks.
me personally, I think that you should define intentional slip. I mean, write paragraphs on it. Write out exactly what they are. Intentional slip is a loss, period.
Okay.
I don't care where you're at. If it's intentional, it's a loss. Anything else goes to the strap. I don't care how badly you got me beat, how close to the pad I am. If I'm trying to hang on and we slip, it goes to the straps. The reason I say that, you've taken my hand.
Yep.
You've got full control. You still can't finish me? Why do you deserve to win?
No, you know what? I happen to agree with you.
Yeah.
If I've got full control, if I can't finish you, I'm going to wait. I will eventually.
Yeah. I mean, you don't get no points if you don't cross the finish line.
No, that's right.
You don't get no points for getting close to the goal line in football. If you almost make it to home plate, you don't get no points for that.
Yeah, that's all true.
Yeah, so that's my theory on that. But it's hard without really defining it. It's hard,
So we're not actually going to see a day when arm wrestling is truly unified. I'm not trying to use the unified.
No, I pray that day comes. I know human nature. I don't think it's going to happen in the United States. I think it can happen. Well, it's already happened in Canada.
Yes.
I believe in European countries it can happen.
Well, on paper it's happened.
On paper it's happened, but in the U.S., there's too many individuals that think their way is right, and maybe their way is right, but you just have to get everyone to sit down and say, okay, this is the rules. Let's explain them now, and go from there. But I don't see that day coming.
I don't see the day coming where you're going to get everyone that makes the decisions for whatever organizations to sit down in the same room and talk. Are you? I don't see it.
Well, a perfect example is the weight classes.
Yeah.
When the WAF split, the other WAF, which is now gone, changed its weight classes. And they have, I believe, 8 men's right-handed classes, I believe, where we have 12. Perfect example. I actually agree. There should only be 8 classes. Less classes, the better, in my mind. I would rather our current WAF use the other WAF's classes. There's just too many classes in our sport. It takes too long to run an event. Bring the guys together. Don't let them run from each other. But you're never going to see that happen.
No, because you know what they want. I've been to some of the meetings and that, and they're always trying to bring in more classes.
They want to expand.
You know what? I'm sorry, folks. We have too many classes now.
Oh yeah, they want to bring in more classes because they think it'll bring in more competitors, which will bring in more money. At the end of the day, it always comes down to the dollar.
Yes.
And that's not the right. It might bring in more competitors for that one event, but I believe in. If you want to really grow our sport, you need to get exposure. The way to get exposure is get all the best in the same class. That's why I believe the PAC World Championships with only 3 classes is perfect for television exposure.
Sure.
Which in turn will grow our sport. So, maybe at the amateur level, more classes is better, but in the pro level, maybe 3 classes.
Even at the amateur level, I personally don't buy into the more classes thing.
Yeah.
It's getting too spread out.
Right.
I've gone to the last few Worlds, 4 days.
Oh, I know.
4 days, and they're long days.
Yep.
And it's big. I like to see the big numbers, but it's almost getting out of hand. It's so big.
Right.
So, well, yeah, but you pull if you're one of the light guys, and you are. I consider you a lighter guy. So you pull in the morning and you make it to the quarterfinals.
Right.
You got the next 5 hours off.
Exactly. And that's right. So, but, I don't know what you're going to do about that, because even if you had less classes, the same competitors, the number of competitors, I think is still going to grow in the future. We just had, 1,500 people in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
Next year, it wouldn't surprise me if we had, 2,000, more countries get involved. The internet has really there's people in countries that never knew arm wrestling existed as a sport. Now they know just because of the internet.
Yeah, the internet is a huge factor in the growth of arm wrestling. Just for people finding out information,
right?
Let alone video, all the video that people get to see nowadays.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I mean, that's been a great tool. I mean, for you yourself putting on a tournament, you would probably before have.
Here comes another one.
Hi, gorgeous. That's
Thank
good.
you.